Hey, y'all. Happy Valentine's week. Welcome back to Wisdom and Woo. I am Mel Morris, helping you show up for the life that you love. And this week, this full moon, we have so much help in figuring out what we love and how to show up big for it. So, thanks for joining me. Yeah, hopefully you had a lovely Valentine's Day. I always kind of go back and forth with whether I love it, want to love it, don't. I'm not really like a big kind of gifts and, needing to be out celebrating because it's Valentine's Day. That's not what my love looks like. But I get it. It is a nice time if you don't normally think about love and what love means to you. It does make for, a good opportunity to be reminded of doing it big. And this full moon in Leo also wants to remind you to do shit really big, right? So let's see. Let's start with this full moon, right? The full moon is normally a time when I would talk about releasing and the time to kind of clear things away, and we'll get to that. But I think it's most important this week as we are, ending out of Aquarius energy that we've been in now. We are beyond Mercury retrograde, right? Things are starting to line up a little bit more. I want to think much more about the Leo part of this full moon that is here. So, Leo is big. Leo is bold and dramatic and fun and joyful. And, they are folks that want to take action. Because they love the dramatic, they do like to be kind of, out in the forefront a lot of the times. But it isn't just because they need all eyes on them, right? It really is about joy, about the things that they love, right? This idea of love is really what Leo and this full moon is all about. Now, as far as relationships go, Leo energy, right? Joyful, big, bold Leo energy when it comes to relationships is about being, wanting to be in love, wanting to be in a space of finding joy with a partner, right? But it isn't just about relationships. It's more importantly, I think, about us loving ourselves and finding the things that we really love, that we really, it's bigger than just enjoying. You might enjoy watching a movie and having a nice dinner, but this is about, again, dramatic Leo, finding the things that you really love. And this is the time that you need to start looking for what that is, right? Start getting some clarity around, not how can I be better at a thing or, how do I feel about a thing. This is a time that I really want you to just kind of step back and say, what is it that I really love, right? What do I feel passion around? Now, I know that can be a little tricky for some folks. Some folks are like, I don't feel passionate about anything. But think about, in this full moon time of releasing, what's the thing that if you never had in your life again, if you weren't able to do, if you weren't able to experience, would just feel like the end of the world? Right? What about yourself, the way that you show up or the way that you want to show up? What is it that if you spent more time doing, you would just feel so happy? You would just be so joyful. It doesn't have to be a job. It doesn't have to be a career. Maybe it is, but this is about finding clarity in that thing or group of things, right? So I want you to think about love and think about love dramatically, right? Think about, again, what that feels like to be doing something that just feels good, just because it feels good. Not because somebody's paying you, not because someone asked you, but this is just a thing that I feel amazing about, right? You kind of get the difference between those things. So, what comes up? I'm curious. I want you to, let me know what comes up for you when you think about, man, I love doing this thing. I feel so passionate about this thing, right? I would be devastated if I could never do this thing again. And then, we'll come back to this idea of releasing in a second. But I also just want to add on here that this full moon also is getting some help with having Venus and Mars, the planets that kind of rule over the masculine and feminine parts of us. They're together in the sky, right? So even though this is a time of releasing, this Venus and Mars energy gives us the opportunity to find some balance in those parts of ourselves, that masculine and feminine energy. And we get to use that. So instead of just releasing, right, we might think about what we can release in terms of what's holding us back from doing the things that we love. What is keeping us? What can we let go of that is slowing us down? But now you add in this Mars and Venus energy as well. Now you can think about releasing in terms of those two energies. So, Mars energy is, again, that kind of masculine projective energy. So what if you think about releasing in terms of, what am I projecting? What am I putting out into the world that is preventing me from having or doing this thing that I love? Right? Think about the Venus energy, the feminine energy, which is more receptive, right? And think about it in terms of what am I allowing in to my life that's blocking me from having the things that I love, being around the people that I love, doing things that I just find joyful, right? So when you're thinking about releasing with this full moon, add those two components in there too, because, this is a time of finding that balance, finding the strength, right? Again, Leo, big, bold, lion, right? Strength. It is finding the strength to be able to really show up authentic for yourself and not worrying about what other people think, right? Not being concerned with, what people might have to say or again, how other people might feel about what you're doing. Nobody cares about that right now, right? This is about you finding joy, finding who you are and how you can show up in the world, even if other people don't like it. Who cares? That's not your problem, right? So yes, I do want you to, release the things that are holding you back from finding that joy, from finding that happiness, from allowing you to show up really big. But I also want you to think about it in those two ways, right? Don't just look at it like, oh, these things are weighing me down and keeping me from being able to be my greatest, right? I also want you to think about it in terms of, what am I putting out into the world that is keeping me from having that joy, from experiencing that joy? Because I'll tell you, for me, a lot of it isn't, probably 95% of what prevents me from being more joyful or doing more things that I enjoy are totally me, right? It has nothing to do with other people or the external world. It's me putting pressure on myself, or, not believing in an idea or something like that, right? So don't just think about it in, one way or the other. Think about both. Ask yourself those questions and listen for the answers, right? What's coming through? And when it's time to release, when you've sat down and you've asked yourself those questions, find some, again, Leo, dramatic ways to release them, right? So maybe, a dramatic dance, right? Maybe it's being in your house and, wearing a big fabulous outfit and dancing around and, to, like a drum circle, and just sweating and moving and saying, yes, I'm releasing these things, I'm releasing these things. Or maybe it's, going outside and having a little bonfire where you're, burning a bunch of shit and of, things that you feel like are holding you back, or, names of people, or, again, ideas or feelings that you want to let go of. Having a big, bonfire and being really dramatic about releasing those things, right? Now, I'm not that type of dramatic normally in my life, but that's the message from Leo, right? That we need to find joy. We've really transitioned from, this really heavy phase, I think, for a lot of us. And this full moon in Leo is reminding us of that joy, right? That's coming, of getting ourselves ready and getting shit out of the way that's holding us back from experiencing just joy, just because, right? Not because you did all this work and now you get some prize or feel accomplished. No, you can just feel some joy today because you deserve it. And that's the reminder from Leo, right? So, whatever you decide to do, however you decide to ask yourself the questions and do some releasing, just make sure it's dramatic. Dramatic for you, right? So if you're already a dramatic person, you got to take it up a notch. Okay? So I know a few of you out there are pretty dramatic already. So, all right, I think that's it. I definitely want to hear about what comes up for you and how you dramatically decided to release them. I also just want to remind you before I go to join me later this evening, where I will be live with my magical cartographers for our continuation of our podcast, All the Things with the Magical Cartographers. We're going to be continuing our conversation from episode 3. So if you haven't already had a chance to check that out, make sure you check out the podcast and then join us at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. And I'd love for you to share your stories. We're going to be continuing to talk about these new beginnings, right? And the realness of starting over again. So I hope to see you there. Thanks for joining me today, and stay magical, y'all.